Hello, I'm Kads, and welcome to today's video. So we're in the midst of the Masahiro Fragment summon, and we've come to the last day of the summon rush, which arbitrarily is the day that I like to pull my shards. So, of course, we're going to be pulling some shards, specifically some sacreds, to max out, so to speak, the summon rush in terms of getting the fragments, of course, not the entirety of the event. And that is our primary reason for pulling, because I never pull without a purpose. So taking a look at the summon rush itself, it is fairly unique. They don't usually do this. They have done it in the past, maybe years and years ago at this point, but they actually have each of the 5 out of the 20 nodes broken up separately. So you could really kind of pick and choose how you want to do this fusion, at least for the purpose of the summon rush. We don't really know yet if the champion chase is going to be similarly kind. I mean, it could be, but there's no guarantees that it will be. But anyways, I digress. So my plan from the get-go was to get all 115 of the fragments, so I do have to go all the way out there to the 5100, but we're doing that in 2 segments, so to speak. So basically, I'm interpreting this as 7 sacreds to get to the 3500, and then the rest will be done with mystery shards. So I've already pre-pulled the mystery shards. You can see 1600 there, and thus 7 sacreds will get us all the way out to 5100. I thought about even being more frugal than that because we just have the flexibility to do so. But as we can pop into the portal real quick, I was definitely tempted by the offerings here from the progressive chance events. Obviously, like I always say, this is a really, really small chance. Even if I do get a legendary, which is not guaranteed, there's only a 5% chance that the one I walk away with is the one that's selected. So that is ridiculously underwhelming because there's a 95% chance of failure, so to speak. But nonetheless, it is tempting because every once in a while you will proc these. I guess 1 out of every 20 chances on average you'll proc this. But more importantly, I also do want the epic here, Dexicos. He's the only epic on my list who I really want, who's non-void, I guess I should specify. And he's just the reviver for the Argonites. Probably I'll get him eventually, but long before the Factum Crypt opens. But the sooner I get him, the more guaranteed I'll have him for when that crypt opens. So sooner rather than later is kind of my idea there. But so slightly, I was leaning more towards pulling more sacreds than not, but just not 10. 10 doesn't feel like it's worth it for the summon rush. Champion's good, and obviously we're going to get him. But 7 felt like a good middle ground. Although I debated about doing 6 and like 2300 mysteries. But anyways, I settled on 7. I digress. But yeah, also, as we'll come to it a little bit later, there's a little bit of consideration for Mercy. But yeah, in terms of my selection here for the Legendary, this guy looks absolutely crazy. So Sydax here, but basically like a Chimera God. And, Pain Link, decreased attack, AoE, double hitter, enemy max HP, basically Wallmaster Athorian, but slightly different debuffs, or, not necessarily better, but just different, I guess I would say. But decreased defense, decreased speed, great for Hydra, great for Chimera. And then the passive, I don't know. I didn't understand it, didn't read it properly the first time, but he's basically immune to the Ram form of Chimera, which is amazing, on top of, reflect damage and Hydra as well. He's not going to murder himself to the head of suffering and whatnot. But yeah, he'd be cool to have. So basically, Athorian 2.0, more or less. And yeah, that he'd be cool to have. So that's kind of why I'm tempted to pull a little bit more than the bare minimum. So while we're here in the portal, might as well talk about the overall shard count, my account at the moment. 516 on the Ancients, 191 on the Voids, 28 on the Primals, and then 53 on the Sacreds, which of course we'll be dipping into today. As I mentioned earlier, let's talk about my proximity to Mercy. So I have my Mercy tracker here up on the screen. If you'd like a copy of this, it will be linked in the description box down below. So we have pulled 9 Sacreds since the last Legendary, so we're relatively speaking close to Mercy, meaning that we should, or we are practically guaranteed to enter Mercy in this session, but that does not guarantee that we'll get a Legendary. So the worst case is that we don't get a Legendary, but we have built up Mercy in case there is a Sacred Pogo in the near term, which is not the end of the world, because then in the future we could get 2 Legendaries for the price of 1. It just, it rolls on the entire pool versus rolling on the progressive chance event. Or we could get a Legendary and it's not the champion that we've chosen. Again, that's a 95% chance of occurring. Could be someone different, could be a duplicate, could be whoever. Doesn't really matter, I guess. And then, of course, the moonshot would be that we get a Legendary and it is the one from the progressive chance event, which is a small possibility, but you never know. It is still possible. But anyways, so that's our proximity to Mercy. So again, slightly more incentivized to pull a little bit more sacred, just because if I trigger Mercy here, I'm not going to complain, especially if we get lucky and hit the 15x. So in terms of who we're looking for from our shards here, obviously Sydax is kind of number 1 because he's the boosted rate, so to speak. But still, overall, on my account, Undead Horde Duplicate is who I'm looking for, because then we could empower my Rotos, my first ever Legendary empowerment, if I can pull a duplicate Undead Horde Champion. And then, of course, in terms of epics, we're going to be focusing our RNG, hopefully, on getting a copy of Dexicos. For now, I only care about one copy, but I guess long-term, I wouldn't mind getting him to +4 of Empowerment, because he's going to be the Reviver, unless I pull Paulus from the Arcanites. He's going to be the Reviver for the faction, so could be useful. But anyways, I digress. Let's dive into the shard pools. We've got just enough space. We've got a decent amount of cash, and honestly, let's go for average luck today. So mainly, we're just looking for Dexicos, because we are going to get epics. But again, if we do have to get a legendary, I would not mind hitting the progressive chance. Starting it off with Hoskarul, decent champion, definitely more niche content nowadays, but he is nonetheless an AoE stun, 75% chance on an epic, and increased defense as well. He's also immune to stun, which is kind of cool. He has a stun as A1 as well, so decent CC for restrictive content. The lag, oh, the lag actually worked. It worked. Okay, cool. We proc the, I guess the 20x there on that particular summon, but we got the Tide Master Dexicos. But yeah, pretty straightforward kit. Revive 2 random allies with, terrible turn meter, low, half HP, but good enough for, manual play and faction wars. So mission accomplished on that one. Increased defense here. And I think a little bit of healing here on the A1. Doesn't really matter. He's just a reviver for the faction. So good to have him on the account. Awesome. Let's move right along. 2 sacreds down, 5 to go. And I'm probably expecting here to get 5 more epics. Durang, underwhelming. Not much to talk about him, unfortunately. 4 more sacreds to go. Another epic. Let's see. Masked Fearmonger, even worse than Durang. 3 sacreds to go. I guess we're just gonna speedrun this with some bottom of the barrel epics here. Hilda Arnorn daughter, who I assume is the daughter of Arnorn, the Shining. But I think her claim to fame is, the AoE stun here as needed. Could be useful for CC in restrictive content, faction wars, etc. But for me personally, I never ended up building her because Hilvi exists and the AoE freeze is good enough. I think we have 2 more sacreds to go. So are we going to super preserve Mercy? Looking like it. Okay, duplicate copy of Tide Master, not the end of the world. There's the +1 automatically on him, so we'll take that. And then the last sacred for the day, the 7th one. Another epic would be great. Cool. We're deep into Mercy. The Neldor Rhineblade, one of the more accessible Fire Knight hard champions. Triple hitter on the A1 with the freeze. Double hitter here with decreased speed. And then the quad hitter here with the multiple different debuffs. But most importantly, just, quad hitter. And of course, the passive. Whenever anyone else places a freeze, he can join in on with his default skill, which is, again, is the triple hitter to place a freeze. So great for Fire Knight. I don't personally use him. I prefer Crowd in the blue. But nonetheless, he is kind of a lot of people's gateway in to hard mode Fire Knight. So there we go. 2 copies of the epic. I call it a win. And then now we are relatively deep into Mercy. In fact, let me just update it and put it back up on the screen here. So yeah, we were at 9, we pulled 7, so now we're at 16. So we're 4 into Mercy, which of course, still not a guarantee. You're practically mathematically guaranteed a legendary within like 32-ish sacreds. Otherwise, the math just kind of blows up and you get really close to 100%. And you have to be really, really unlucky to go further, but technically you could, but it's just unlikely. Anyways, I digress. But yeah, so we're in Mercy by 4. And so again, if there is a Sacred Pogo in the near term, we are in a much better position to pull, 5 to 10 and probably proc it, which is just a better spot. Because in theory, if we had gone for a Sacred Pogo before, we would have pulled the 7 we pulled just now, plus whatever excess. So it could have been upwards of like 17 or something sacreds, which is a lot more than I intend to pull when I'm in a situation going for a Sacred Pogo. So there you have it. Short, sweet, and to the point. That's going to do it for today's shard pulling session. And again, to me, I consider this to be a big win. We've set ourselves up for a potential Sacred Pogo if there happens to be one in the near term. And I can definitely preserve my Mercy holding off for sacreds for a while, just because I think the way the champion chases are kind of lining up right now, the next 2x sacreds might be after the fusion, meaning I don't really have to pull at all unless there's a Titan event. But we've also had like 3 months of Titan events back to back. So I hope there's a little bit of a break in between the fusion Titan event cycle. So anyways, I can probably hold off on pulling sacreds for a couple of months is kind of my main squeeze, at least until the next fusion. And yeah, we got 2 copies of him, so we get to empower him to +1 off rip, which is great. But yeah, let me know in the comment section down below what you guys got from your shard summons over the weekend, assuming you went for some aspect of the summon rush. And also, yeah, let me know what your target was from the summon rush. Were you going for all 20, the first 15, the first 5, because you're focusing on the champion chase? Let me know all of that and more in the comment section down below. As always, if you did enjoy this video, then be sure to hit that like button down below. It will just help out the channel, and feel free to hit the subscribe button down below as well, if and only if you're enjoying the content overall on the channel for more content just like this one in the future. Thanks for watching, and have a good one.